So at the end of the latest chapter, we saw that Shaki showed up to Hachinosu, opened her ripoff bar, and she was like referred to as the national treasure there. I said this in my review. I thought it was like odd that Oda showed this. Not like weird or bad or anything, but it's like odd that he put so much emphasis and attention on this and the way that he worded it. It was like, why does this matter? Because Shaki was never really that important. I mean, I guess she is now. I guess she's really going to be important because she's probably going to play a big part in the God Valley incident, which we'll talk about at the end of this video because I don't want to derail what we're talking about with all the other stuff. But I thought, like, this has to mean something special, something important, maybe something that has already happened in the past, because as we've talked about many times, Oda keeps having history repeat itself. That's like one of the biggest elements of One Piece. Everything that we're seeing happen has already happened. So that means that this has probably happened too. And on Twitter, great theorist named Buggy, his handle is just Buggy. I don't know how he got that handle. Maybe he's rich or something, but he came up with this theory that maybe this is telling us the story of Emu, because we've talked about it before. Emu's probably a woman, and it's very possible that this is like something that happened with her. Now, let me go a little further. A lot of cold open, a lot of exposition lore dump in this video, but so the key word here that like starts this big theory is national treasure. She's referred to that, the national treasure of Hachinosu or Pirate Island. That's really weird, right? Because we've heard that before, right, Sai? We've heard the national treasure or something being referred to as a national treasure in the series.
Yes, we have. It was back in Dressrosa. That was the very first time we had that mention, and it was from Doflamingo, you know, a fellow celestial dragon. And at the time, we were wondering what the national treasure was. Was it an ancient weapon? Was it perhaps the straw hat that we see in the Emu freezer room? But now that we have this context, the context of God Valley and Shaki being a national treasure, it's kind of like, wait a minute, is Emu just the treasure at this point? Because I could see that. And then, you know, obviously we have another instance. This is to a lesser extent. We have like the national treasure of Zou being a woman's dress, which was always a little bit weird, but that was like the spawning point for a lot of Nami theories. Like, oh, Nami's nobility, or Nami's like this blah, blah, blah parallel. So it's like, yeah, like I really could see Emu being a national treasure, maybe even Lily by some weird extent. Yeah, and it's like you said, right? Like a lot of things in One Piece, they tend to parallel. I think mangas and animes and, you know, like they love doing that whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, like 1,000 years ago, this happened and now it's happening again and we have to break the cycle. The most famous example, of course, would be like Naruto, but I don't want to get into that right now.
I was actually just thinking of Attack on Titan earlier. I was like, man, One Piece is about to become like that very soon. Like suddenly just everything is just like 1,000 years ago lore, and you know, because that kind of just happens out of the nowhere in Attack on Titan and it just throws it on the audience. Anyway, sorry. So yes, you are correct in what you were saying. Also, another interesting thing you brought up, we didn't even talk about this, but you said Nami's One Piece dress and Zou. Dawn and Dusk, aka Luna PNR, our boy, probably not my boy. He probably doesn't like me, to be honest, but we're going to be talking about another one of his videos later this week, but he pointed out in his own review for this chapter, 1157, that Shaki goes from wearing, you know, her Kuja Pirates attire to a One Piece dress. And he said, like, oh, could that mean that, like, the One Piece? I don't know. You know, I'm not saying that he's saying that Emu is the One Piece, because that would not good, but something. There's something there. One Piece dress, One Piece. And then you said it's possible Emu is the treasure itself, because that's essentially what we're getting at here with Buggy's theory. And I do think that that is a possibility, because we talked about that before too. You know, the national treasure of Marajua, it's either the straw hat, Uranus, the ancient weapon, or something like that. And we thought, okay, if it is Uranus, then maybe Emu has to do something specific to be able to use it, because it seems like only Emu can use it, or only Emu, I don't know, is allowed to use it or something. But going back to what Doflamingo was saying at Dressrosa to Law, he says, if I had the power of your Ope Ope no Mi in my hands that day, I would have been able to use the national treasure of Marajua to control the world itself. That's how useful the power you hold can be, not to mention its personality transplant ability. So yeah, really interesting. I don't know what to make of this, and I don't know if this is like the perfect translation, but he just says, like, not to mention its personality transplantability. It seems like he's not talking about that initially when he says, like, that's how useful your power can be. I could use the National Treasure Mare Joie? Was he saying like, because of the personality transplantability, I could be, go into Emu and then use Uranus? Or, so because we saw that. We saw during Punk Hazard, the, women becoming men, men becoming women. And it was fun, for the arc, but I do think that was Oda telling us something for sure. I just don't know if Emu was originally a woman or originally a man, because now we're coming into this whole love thing. The love sickness, women not getting the man that they want. Gloriosa wanted Roger, but he was interested in Shaki. So it's like, I don't know where that's going. I originally thought maybe there was a love triangle between Emu, Lily, and Joy Boy back in the day. And Joy Boy picked Lily, and that's made Emu like all crazy and led to where we are now. And then maybe she even took over Lily's body because she was so obsessed with her like that. I'm rambling. Please let me hear your thoughts. I know you probably have a different take on this, but I want to hear it.
No, actually, believe it or not, I'm on the same boat as you, where I do think that in the Void Century, there probably was going to be a love triangle, or there probably is a love triangle, I should say, and that could be what spurred the whole Void Century. And the thing with Emu, right, it sounds silly to say, oh yeah, Emu probably loved Lily, but when you think about it, Emu does have like one poster in his room, and it is of Lily. Like, it's not like, oh, like all the 20 kings and queens are there. No. It's literally just Lily. And then during the whole King Cobra speech, Emu crashed out the minute Lily was revealed to be a D. But yeah, I could totally see Emu being like I don't even know what to call them. Like, just, Gooner isn't the right term.
No, I don't think a Gooner would take over the person that they're obsessed with. That's next level. Yeah. They just want a goon.
Next level tomfoolery. But yeah, like, I can totally see that being the case. Yeah, maybe Doflamingo wanted to take over Emu's body. Maybe Doflamingo wanted to transfer Emu's body out of that, and then Emu would owe Doflamingo a favor, thus leading him to be able to control the world, right? Yeah, if I can control Emu, if I can get on Emu's good side, then that could lead to him, ruling everything. Because he'd have like the #1 toughest guy in the world on his side.
So I guess it could be theorized that maybe it's not literally Emu in this situation back in the day, but maybe it was Lily. Like, Lily was the Shaki of her time and everybody was obsessed with her, and maybe Emu was, and she didn't want Emu, she wanted Joy Boy, and that's led to the war. Or Emu was originally a woman herself, and she wasn't interested in Lily, she was interested in Joy Boy.
The past where nobody really wanted her.
And yeah, and then she just becomes this crazy beast monster or something. But we're going to be talking about this later. But it's just supposed to, like, I guess further parallel to like Doflamingo in a way, because like obviously he was a guy, or he is a guy, was an outcast. He was outcasted from his kingdom, the Mare Joie, eventually, became crazy. I mean, he was already born crazy, but eventually met the, whatever his commanders are, I forget their names. The dudes that gave him his devil fruit, and eventually became his Yonko commanders, even though he wasn't a Yonko. Same thing happened with Emu, I think. Like, he or she came around, and the Gorosei just simped for her or him immediately. And they were like, all right, let's make you the king. Same thing with Dolphy, but we'll leave it there because, again, guys, we're going to be talking about Dolphy and Emu parallel in another video coming out this week. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Again, not a lot to go off here because we don't know too much about the Void Century, but I do think Buggy is onto something here. I do think Shaki being shown at the end of this chapter is history repeating itself. I just don't know exactly who it is, but I think we're close to it. But anyway, check out Sai's channel. Link in the description as always. Have a great day, guys. See you in the next one.
Peace out, guys.